Hi, welcome to the 23rd Udine Far East Film Festival, and thank you all for watching the film Hand Roast Cigarette. My name is Kevin Ma. I am the host of this Q&A session. Today we have two very special guests in matching outfits. First, on the left, he's a freerunner and he's making his film acting debut as Manny in the film Hand Roast Cigarette. Please say hi to Bipin Karma.
Hi guys.
And then here in the center, you might have seen as an actor in films like Midnight After and The Crossing. Here he's the writer and director of Hand Roast Cigarette. Please say hi to director Chen King Long.
Hello.
OK，咁我哋第一個問題就先問下導演先啦。你入行嗰陣係做個演員，但係你讀書嗰陣其實係拍片啊，或者冇做幕前嘅多。咁點解你會揀手捲煙呢一個故事作為你第一套嘅導演作品咧？
其實手捲煙一開頭我係同另外一個 scriptwriter 一齊去諗嘅時候，就諗緊一個關於香港嘅故仔。咁但係點樣為之香港咧？我哋諗咗好耐都揾唔到一個適合嘅角色嘅身份。咁到最尾我哋就將個範圍收窄到華籍英軍，因為華籍英軍呢一個部隊係一個好特別嘅存在嘅喺香港嘅歷史嚟講。我哋用其他嘅職業都取代唔到，即係譬如我哋用警察、用公務員，甚至乎係日常嘅一啲職業咧，都唔係嗰種獨特性嚟嘅。咁華籍英軍某程度上就係英殖時期佢哋經歷過97回歸。佢以前就係 under 英國政府嘅，佢就係交稅都係交稅俾英女王嘅。但係解散之後，佢哋嘅善後服務並不是太好，即係港英政府同埋香港特區政府嗰時俾佢哋嘅退伍嘅一啲安排都比較差，咁佢哋就變咗係一個裂縫中裏邊生存嘅一個狀態。咁其實好描寫到或者刻畫到嗰一個 generation 嘅人嘅，特別係我爸爸嗰個 generation， 即係60歲左右。所以我哋就用咗呢一個做切入點去講呢個故仔咯，就衍生到身份，然後到情義，到 generation 隔代嘅唔同嘅睇法咯。
Okay, so Bipin, this is your first acting in a film.
Yes.
How did you land this opportunity, or was that something you had planned to do, or how did it land on your lap?
Yeah, well, before I was into this field, I was actually doing behind the scenes, meaning that I was doing a little bit of camera work, a little bit of writing, and director Chen King Long, he actually saw one of my short film, which initially I was like writing only, but then I couldn't find an actor for that, so I was like, okay, maybe the producer and I decided we could actually have me act on that, and that didn't be, and he saw that. And he was like, oh, maybe I could ask him to come along. And he asked me to come along to do a meetup to know about the film. And that's how we connected, actually. So you could say he watched a short film of mine, which was accidental, of me to be in acting. And yeah, that's...
But he rejected me in the very beginning, so I think he's so arrogant.
No.
Well, why did you reject it in the beginning?
Oh no, because this is the first time for me to act. First of all, I never had an acting experience, and even my Gondonwa is not the best. You could see, so when people watch my Gondonwa in Seokgunin and they see me in Q&A, they're like, oh, you can't speak Canto? I was like, no, I'm sorry. But so the Cantonese was overwhelming for me in the beginning. Even my Yantowa, which is Hindi, because I'm not Indian, I'm Nepalese. So I had to learn how to speak Hindi and also the accent and everything. So coming all together, I was like, perhaps I might not be the ideal candidate, especially having to know the fact that I was also having my last year in uni. And that moment I was like, oh, possibly I'm not ready yet. So
That's fate.
yeah, but
It's
then
fate.
eventually it was fate, you know. Yeah, it's been a crazy ride until this point, and I know it's going to be a very, very great learning experience. But you know, that's how it started, from that little accident, a little fateful twist of moment.
So let's talk about the rest of the cast. 講下其他演員啦。你點樣揾到家棟啦，同埋當然其他個 cast 都好犀利啦，但係點樣去拼呢個 cast 出嚟嘅咧？
哇！我都係啱啱想講翻緣分咯，要 That's fate 但係其實我覺得係因為一開頭我啲 cast 都未定實嘅，尤其是係關於台灣黑幫嗰一個部分，因為台灣黑幫嗰個部分本身係諗住揾台灣嘅演員，就係分別係陳竹升同埋莊振益都有，跟住之後因為陳竹升唔得，就問過吳恆逢嘅，基本上佢哋都綠燈㗎啦，即係佢哋 say yes 㗎啦，但係因為嗰時 Covid 好嚴重，所以佢哋就最尾嚟唔到。咁嗰時唯有我諗緊喺香港演員裏邊，邊一啲人或者乜嘢嘅前輩演員有嗰種台灣嘅感覺咧？咁後尾就諗到太保，咁就最尾去 confirm 就係太保台灣幫嗰個角色咯。咁其他演員包括林家棟，咁家棟哥，咁佢都係嗰時其實一開頭我都有諗過其他嘅人選去做關超呢個角色嘅，但係後尾見咗家棟哥同佢傾之後，我就覺得佢係最啱去做關超呢個角色，就好快就同佢去討論劇本嘅細節啦。咁仲有就係其他角色，譬如何華超嘅角色啦，即係佢都係退嘅軍人啦。某程度上佢想揾何華超係想同阿果嗰套去年煙花有一個聯繫嘅，因為我自己本身都好喜歡嗰套電影，因為都係講緊一個時代下邊嘅小人物，咁同佢嘅主題好相近。我亦都係時代下邊，不過我自己嘅諗法就係喺裂縫中行走的人，即係我哋不停向上爬，但係你爬唔到上去，但係當你一放鬆你放手，你就會跌落無底嘅深淵。咁我自己覺得最尾個 combination， 而家嗰個 cast 嘅 combination， 我覺得某程度上都係緣分嚟嘅，因為嗰時都係疫情最嚴重嘅時候，但係好多演員嘅朋友或者演員嘅前輩睇完個劇本傾完之後，佢哋都好願意去一齊投入去呢一個創作，所以我係覺得係一個幾奇妙嘅事嚟嘅。
係咯，正如你所講，啱啱話套戲係2020年3月拍噶嘛，即係啱啱疫情開始嗰陣。咁你哋嗰陣時有冇猶豫係咪應該繼續拍啊？定係你哋點樣去終於完成套戲咧？喺呢個咁嘅疫情底下。
我哋其實都中間停過一次嘅，即係 production 上邊。咁但係因為我哋嘅資金比較有限制啦，所以我哋唔可以停太耐，所以都決定繼續拍。咁但係點知決定繼續拍嘅時候，就第二波嘅疫情啦，即係我哋2020年嘅年頭就最嚴重嘅第二波。咁都諗過可唔可以再 delay 咧？但係同每一個部門，甚至乎同演員傾，佢哋都覺得不如繼續啦。如果我哋小心啲，因為我其實同阿家棟哥講過嘅，咁家棟哥就答我話：如果要中就真係中啦，咁我哋小心啲拍就 OK 啦。咁就係呢一句就凝聚咗所有人一齊去拍攝咯。咁我覺得呢一個心態係好緊要。
So Bipin, Thiên Long was just talking about shooting during the pandemic. So you were surrounded by all these veteran actors. It's a high-pressure environment. You got shot in 18 days. It's your first time acting. So what was the experience like for you overall?
Yeah, I mean, I met Lam Ka-tong, Gordon Lam, in the rehearsal, and he gave me this energy that, you know, this is gonna be a wild experience for me. Whereas, like she said, I also mentioned many times before that he said, oh, "You are Manny, the character," and when he said that, for me it was okay. I gotta do my inner work, and almost like brainwash myself to become Manny, because he saw that I had that something of Manny in me, and I might have not seen it in the beginning, but that was one thing. But working with the whole cast, there were like Bati, Typo, and all other cast. They had a very good vibe, but at the same time, our crew was very young. And I remember I told the crew, like, our crew is really young and so fresh, and I just felt like it was just a historical moment, especially for, I don't know, for me, because it just seemed fresh for me, and having to know that my brothers, my Pugo was an Indian descent, my Mansoor was Pakistani and me being Nepalese, having that brother, different nationality, it was quite historical for a Hong Kong movie to have that thing. So the casting and everything, I was discussing with Tang Long, like, you really gave a lot of thought into the casting, and and everything was put out really well. Me, if I'm talking from outside an actor, it was just great. I learned from a lot from Gordon Lam, just observing him, being in the zone. So it was great.
I mean, you had most of your scenes with Gordon, right? And with such short time, how did you guys build that chemistry on the screen? Did you guys work together? Did you guys rehearse a lot before the shoot?
We apparently we did not rehearse a lot. We just had a few rehearsals, but every rehearsal was very meticulous. I mean, I paid attention, and I was
like an
nervous.
intensive course.
I was nervous.
Drama
Also
course.
because it was very cold that time, so I was like shaking when I met Gordon Lam. But everything that he said, I was like really trying to understand. Especially he gave me a very good advice of writing down what my past was, my background, and also what my motive was. And on the first day, I had a notepad, and I was just sitting in the corners trying to brainwash myself just before the scene. And some of the crew member came up to me like, "Are you okay, bro? Like, you can chill down." And I'm like, "Yeah, I should." And then after a while, I started to slowly become a bit comfortable and more like relaxed. Because on the first day, you can ask him, "Is like, are you okay?" So, but it was great.
But I do think Bipin is talented in acting, so he get used to the environment very soon. So yeah, I think he's good.
I had to try extra hard. I mean, it was my first time acting, and he literally put me in a position where it's like, act. It's like big thing. Oh, this is one of the main characters. Act. I'm like, okay. So I have to do a lot of groundwork and a lot of basically studying and homework. So, yeah.
And the hard work really paid off. It was a great performance.
Yeah. The audience will decide after that. And for sure, we're getting great feedback slowly, and I hope the audience will like it. Yeah.
咁我哋講下個製作方面啦，因為套戲係首部劇情電影計劃嘅戲啦，咁大家都知道個 budget 係唔會好高。咁你喺拍攝嗰陣，你點樣去平衡就係話你得到你想拍嘅，同埋去 make sure 套戲唔會過呢個預算咧？
其實我諗雖然有 budget 嘅限制，但係最主要係大家都有團火，即係我覺得香港電影或者港產片就係大家拼死去做嘅嗰個決心。咁其實好多地方或者好多場景其實都基本上好難喺我哋呢個預算度做到，但係我哋諗辦法去資源分配咯。因為譬如有一啲場口有一啲 plot 係喺關超屋企嘅，咁我哋就係嗰度濃縮，盡量喺嗰度解決拍咗佢。然後譬如後邊有一啲打嘅場口或者一啲比較大嘅場口，我哋就將啲時間資源擺翻落嗰度多啲咯。咁其實取捨咯，變相其實對於演員嚟講都好 harsh 嘅，因為喺室內嘅文戲咧，佢哋係需要比較短嘅時間，我哋要解決或者我哋要處理完成。咁但係都好在家棟哥同 Bipin 入到去嗰個 chemistry 好快佢哋已經即係有想要嘅感覺，都係好少嘅微調。咁但係如果調翻轉，如果 Touchwood 嗰陣時係即係佢哋冇咁好 chemistry 咧，可能出嚟嘅效果或者嗰個戲都未必有嗰個味道出到嚟。
嗰個 long take 係咪你最難堅持嗰樣嘢，定係嗰個係咪最難拍嗰個？
反而 long take 就唔係最難堅持嘅，因為 long take 就係即係嗰個 shot 係一開頭已經諗住係咁噶啦，即係有少少 reference 係朴贊郁嘅原罪犯。咁朴贊郁原罪犯唔係完全想 copy 佢，而係我覺得因為嗰個戲到後邊就係想俾翻觀眾一個 impact 或者反思，就係第三者嘅角度咯，以一個抽離嘅角度去望翻一個 chaos 一個打鬥嘅發生。但係唔係好多時候我哋都會係第一身或者好近，因為如果好典型嘅動作處理就係會係 cut shot， 我哋好似好近佢哋嘅打鬥現場嘅。但係我今次想係一個第三者嘅角度去望翻，因為有幾多人 或者我哋去反思翻，我哋有幾多時候 chaos 發生嘅時候，我哋會喺裏邊咧，定係我哋都係用抽離嘅角度去睇咧？即係我希望呢度會有少少思考空間俾翻觀眾。
So Pepin, you didn't have to do the long take. I think you were kind of on the sideline, right? I remember.
I was literally laying down on the floor. There's a whole story to that.
Okay.
And so, because they were choreographing the whole sequence, and I was just on the position, and I was just looking at everybody, hoping that I would have my own movement, but they didn't, because I was trying to. There was the first take that we did. We're just rehearsing, and I was not clear about my own positions where I should move later on, because it's a long take. And I remember inside I was like, okay, I don't exactly know, but let me come inside Manny. What would he do in this moment? And I was like, oh, he would try to at least, even though he's really, really damaged, he was almost gonna die. What would he do? And I was like, okay, I will try to at least reach out my hand and help out Gatong while he's really trying to fight everybody. And then
you look like a Pokemon.
Yeah, and he came up to me. He said,
in my finder.
yeah. He said, cut. And he came up to me. He's like, you said, are you a caterpillar? Because I was just going around all the room, like just trying to like do that. But yeah, eventually we got the take, and yeah, it was cool.
So I'm going to take on a little more serious topic. Is that I asked Pepin first, and then not many Hong Kong films tackle the theme of racism the way that this film does. It was very directly. So was that something that was on the back of your mind when you were acting the film?
I was aware that this context was in it, this discrimination, segregation and all that. And for me, living in Hong Kong from the age of 8, there has been a moment where I have had discrimination as well. And I know other people who have had discrimination as well. So I understood this topic from the very beginning. And from this movie, I could see that, it is portrayed in a way where we're showing reality. For example, the word that is used, like tazai, the word that is used, it's there, but in a way where it's not trying to teach, like for example, it's not trying to show, like this movie is not trying to teach about other different culture. It's just showing this the reality and see what you think of it. Because the character of Manny is very innocent in his ways, and it's very much passive in his way, especially when he meets Gatong, Quan Chu. And he gets more of a more baby in a way, because he himself was abandoned by his parents. So he took this chance to feel more like, a baby in his ways, and have that connection with them. So I guess it's a very different way of talking about discrimination, or talking about this issue of living in a society, about identity. Yeah.
導演咧，即係我再翻嚟多次，即係種族歧視喺香港電影真係好少話咁直接去探討呢一個話題嘅。咁呢個係咪你寫手捲煙嗰陣，呢個係你想做嘅嘢咧？
我覺得係其中一個附帶嘅議題嚟嘅，對我嚟講。咁譬如我哋成日會講香港係一個國際嘅大都會啦，即係中西文化係一個融合嘅大城市啦。但係某程度上，我哋又見唔到一啲唔同膚色嘅演員喺比較少啦，即係喺電影裏邊出現。咁我覺得呢樣嘢係需要去咁樣做嘅，即係譬如我哋睇翻美國睇翻 Oscar， 咁佢哋都有美籍非裔、美籍華裔，唔同顏色嘅人都可以喺電影呢個藝術裏邊出現，甚至乎可以參加到頒獎禮。咁點解我哋香港比較少咧？因為我哋有時去判斷其他人嘅時候係以顏色或者用我哋眼睛去判斷。我哋譬如我哋試下將一個好流利講廣東話嘅印巴嘅朋友笠咗個紙袋， 你可能覺得佢係比你更本土，但係點解我哋會覺得佢唔係香港人或者唔係本土咧？係因為以顏色嚟區分。咁我就希望呢樣嘢帶俾大家就係有時候唔係膚色上邊，而係你有冇真正用心去同人溝通。即係就算如果你有呢個心去溝通或者去認識一個人嘅時候，就唔係膚色，唔係年齡咯。其實係就算價值觀唔同，我哋都可以交到心。
So this one I have to ask you first because Gin Long has a model answer. So I should ask you first. The significance of the hand rolled cigarette. In the film, obviously, it's a symbol of friendship between your character and Gordon's character. But do you think it stands for anything else? Is there any other significance to the actual hand rolled cigarette?
I'm so careful.
Yeah, answer carefully. I think it's just the process, you know, the process of putting the tobacco in the paper, rolling it up. That process is more meditative in a way. It's more like you are really taking the time to be in the present moment, you know, and basically in that moment. So for me, it's just being more meditative. We're in that moment. So besides, you know, the passing of the saliva, because when you roll it up, it's your saliva. And as you said, if you pass it along, you're kind of sharing that intimate way. But before that, even if you're rolling by yourself, you're just being meditative in that process of rolling the paper. So that's, I guess, being the moment.
導演咧，即係除咗友誼呢樣嘢，手捲煙係有另外一個意思咁。
其實佢都答咗我嘅 model answer 啦。基本上，其實即係因為其實有時候手捲煙，譬如有食煙嘅朋友就會知道個分別咯。因為手捲煙我哋拎出嚟去 roll 一支煙，我哋絕對需要時間去消化或者有個 buffer 喺度啦。但係對於我哋而家好快速嘅城市人嚟講，永遠都係冇放慢。其實某程度上佢係一個放慢嘅態度咯，即係你點樣去感受一樣嘢咯。所以去捲支煙其實係俾自己冷靜落嚟，或者一個 buffer去消化。咁我哋去高支煙嘅時候，我哋都有空間同時間咯，就唔係永遠都係快速咯。即係我譬如打一個比喻，我以前有夾 band 嘅，咁就譬如 Pink Floyd 嘅歌，以前我哋20分鐘，可能個 verse 或者個 intro 3分鐘4分鐘都未有歌詞嘅，或者未入個 verse 嘅。咁但係我哋會真係去聽佢嘅 structure 去感受嘅時候，就會另一個感覺，即係同食捲煙嗰個感覺或者個態度係相近嘅，即係我哋有冇放翻慢個人咧，去感受翻嗰件事咧，咁就係一個慢活嘅態度咯，對我嚟講。咁另外嗰樣嘢就係情意或者情感嘅傳遞啦。我依支煙我攞完之後，啱啱阿 Bib 都有講啦，即係個口水喺上邊，我哋去縫合去 pass 俾你。其實你接得咧，就係我哋有一定嘅感情基礎，或者我哋有一定嘅 friendship， 你先會去接我支煙。咁呢個就係情義之間嘅一個嘅象徵啦，一個嘅 symbol 咯。
有好多人將呢套戲同銀河影像嘅電影去比較啦。我唔知你覺得點，定係其實真係有佢嘅影響喺裏邊咧，定係你自己有其他一啲influence 或者其他電影人係影響到你嘅？
其實其中一個最喜歡嘅香港導演就係杜琪峰導演，咁所以某程度上可能都有少少受到佢影響嘅，因為我自己本身喺個質感上或者個氣氛處理我都好中意 high contrast 嘅東西，因為我同埋我覺得去拍呢套戲嘅時候嗰個感覺嗰個壓迫感係用 high contrast 先可以營造到嘅，所以某程度上出嚟某一啲嘅氣氛，我覺得可能會似銀河影像，但係我覺得未必完全係嘅。因為喺個鏡頭運用或者去講故仔嘅 present 出嚟嘅手法上邊，我覺得唔係完全相似，但係可能喺個 cinematography 上邊嗰個氣氛會相近。即係如果出嚟，但係我自己係比較喜歡，即係我最喜歡嘅其中一個導演就係黑澤明導演，所以我喺一啲鏡頭上邊嘅處理都希望可以攞到一啲一啲用鏡頭講故仔嘅一啲處理。放喺裏邊。
點解你冇喺幕前出現嘅喺呢套戲？定係因為你太忙做幕後嗰啲嘢？
因為太忙啦。因為如果你好專注做導演嗰 崗位嘅時候，基本上你好難分心，除非你好游刃有餘，或者你可以更加純熟地即係可以掌握到導演呢個技藝嘅時候。但係因為始終係第一套嘅長片咧，想個精神同心力主要放喺導演嘅崗位上邊，即係我成個架構啊、我嘅氣氛啊，或者我嘅 shot 同埋角色之間嘅關係去點樣處理咧，所以就今次 focus on 導演呢個身份。
咁近年咧都有好多香港嘅新導演出道啦，即係包括你啊，即係呢一代都有好多導演。咁你覺得呢一代嘅香港導演同之前嘅幾代嘅香港導演有冇啲咩唔同咧？
我覺得一定有嘅，即係未必係攞而家嚟做一個比較，但係每一個 generation 嘅人都會有佢自己對世界嘅睇法或者佢嘅價值觀。咁相對地，如果而家新一批多咗導演出嚟，因為我哋容易咗可以接觸拍攝啦，但係仍然我哋嘅電影行業係相對困難嘅。但係我覺得好就好在我哋新一代嘅 generation 會有多啲唔同佢哋自己嘅 insight 擺喺佢哋創作裏邊。呢個價值觀係同以前嘅會有啲唔同嘅，所以我覺得係好事嚟嘅。因為我覺得一個健康嘅創作環境，或者一個健康嘅創作工業係需要有唔同嘅類型、唔同嘅睇法喺嗰個 pool 裏邊，咁先係一個健康嘅一個生態。
咁我呢個最後問題就基本上係問俾你兩個，但係就有少少唔同嘅。So same question but different, a little variation between the two. So I'll ask Kian-Long first. 你覺得一個新導演要有啲乜嘢可以幫到佢喺呢個行業生存咧？
我自己覺得作為新導演都係要 keep 住自己嘅熱情咯。即係我都會，你咁一講，我都會諗下其他答案嘅。咁係咪做人定係點咧？就係做人溝通嘅技巧，咁啊未必。但係你呢啲一定係要需要有啦。咁但係我覺得創作嘅熱誠就係需要保留住咯。因為我覺得做得耐，或者我哋人對住一件事物對得耐，都會慢慢磨滅咗某一啲嘅感覺嘅。所以我覺得係要 keep 住當每一套都係你最後一套嘅作品去做。咁就會有一個感染到人哋嘅力量喺裏邊。
Okay. So Bipin, different variation but same question. What do you think a new actor, what quality do you think a new actor has to survive in the Hong Kong film industry?
Well, I'm very, very new, so I might not be able to give the most accurate answer, but you know, from me being an actor in this film, and asking myself, introspecting, okay, how I am, I felt like I had good intentions. I wanted to make use of this opportunity to create open doors, perhaps in Hong Kong, maybe there might be segregation, or discrimination, whatever. Hopefully, and I hoped, however my performance was, however, of course, also the story and all that, I hoped it will at least have an impact to make everything a bit better, at least. So, and also as an actor, I feel just being true to myself, you know, it's a cliche, you know, be yourself, but, you know, I try to be, because he found me, say, oh, you're like, I met Gordon Lam. He was like, "Oh, you are Lehe Monday. You are Manny." And I asked him, "What did you cast me?" And he just said, "He's like, intuition." That's all he said. And I'm like, okay, then I guess I just have to find whatever they think they saw in me. So, you know, I guess just be true to yourself and try to find what is in you that is related to the character that you have to play. So. That's what I'm thinking for now. So I hope that helps. Yeah.
So that's all we have time for today. I want to thank Bipin and Kian-Long for coming to talk to us. Good luck with the release of the film. And thank you everyone for staying to watch this Q&A.
Thank you guys.